Good evening. The meeting of Committee of Adjustment for June 15th, 2023 is a hybrid meeting and is now just about to begin, and I will ask staff to start the recording. I'll just review the virtual meeting instructions. Good evening, members of the committee, applicants, agents, staff, and members of the public. As this meeting is also being held virtually, I will remind you that meeting is being recorded and streamed live via the County of Brant YouTube account. Committee of Adjustment members joining online should use their cameras throughout the meeting so that the applicants, agents, and members of the public can identify the voting members, and we can confirm that you are present throughout the meeting. Planning staff will be requested to join the meeting during presentations and will be available to answer questions. Applicants, agents, owners, and delegations are also participating virtually. All persons wishing to speak to the items on the agenda were required to register prior to the meeting. Any comments, questions, or concerns received in written format have been provided to the members of the committee and will form part of the meeting record. Applicants, agents, and members of the public, please ensure your camera is off and your microphone is on mute throughout the meeting and your name is correct on the Zoom screen. When called upon to speak, please remember to unmute your microphone and turn on your camera before speaking. Those presenting as delegations will have 10 minutes to speak to the application at hand, not past or related applications. I believe there are no public delegations registered for tonight. In the event a connection or service interruption occurs that affects quorum of committee, we may recess the meeting for up to 15 minutes. There is only one member online tonight, so I don't believe that will happen. If you are present in council chambers, but I believe there are no one here, any who do come in, please register on the podium at the back. This meeting is held in accordance with the provision of the Planning Act. The purpose of this meeting is to discuss minor variance and consent applications and give anyone in attendance the opportunity to ask questions, provide comments related to an application. Notice of this meeting was provided by mail and signed posted by staff as required by the Planning Act. A copy of the meeting agenda, including the staff report, related materials, and comments received are available on the County of Brant website. Once the presentations, public hearings, and question period are complete for each item, if the committee deems it appropriate, they will make a decision. Each committee decision is final following the 20-day appeal period. And again, there is a sign-in sheet at the entrance. Please, if you do not register, you will not receive a copy of the meeting decisions. The names of those individuals who speak on any item tonight will appear within the meeting minutes. Anyone wishing to receive further notice or a copy of the committee's decision, please contact the County of Brant Planning Department. The order of delegation are as follows: planning staff report and recommendation, applicant, agent presentation, questions and discussions, public comments, further questions of clarification, and the decision. I'll now start with item 1 on our agenda, calling attendance. So members, please indicate if you are present by stating so, starting with Mary Jane Brown, present. Harry Emmett.
Present.
John Vamus.
Present.
Steve Schmidt.
Present.
Bob Hamilton.
Present.
Jane Penag.
Present.
Rebecca Smith.
Present.
Thank you. There are no members missing tonight. We'll now move to item 2, approval of the agenda. Do any members have items to be added to the agenda? I believe there are none. May I request a mover and a seconder? Member Emmett? Member Schmidt? Can you please provide the motion, Member Emmett?
It's moved by myself and seconded by Member Schmidt that the agenda of the County of Brant Committee of Adjustment meeting of June 15, 2023 be approved.
Thank you. Members, please indicate if you are in favor of the motion, starting with Member Emmett.
Yes.
Member Vamus?
Yes.
Member Schmidt?
Yes.
Member Hamilton?
Yes.
Member Panag?
Yes.
And Member Smith?
Yes.
And Brown, yes. The motion has carried. The agenda has been approved for the meeting of June 15th, 2023. I'll now introduce item 3, declaration of pecuniary interest. Are there any members who would like to declare a conflict of interest for any items on the agenda this evening? I believe no members have any conflicts for this meeting. I'll now introduce item 4, adoption of the minutes from the previous meetings. Do the committee members have any errors or omissions to note? Can I have a mover and seconder to adopt the minutes from the previous meeting? Member Hamilton, Member Panag. Member Hamilton, can you please provide the motion?
Moved by myself and second by Member Panag that the minutes from the County of Brant Committee of Adjustment meeting on May 18th, 2023 be approved.
Thank you. Members, please indicate if you are in favor of the motion, starting with Member Emmett.
Yes.
Member Vamus?
Yes.
Member Schmidt?
Yes.
Member Hamilton?
Yes.
Member Panag?
Yes.
And Member Smith?
Yes.
Brown, yes. The minutes from the motion has carried, so the minutes from the meeting of May 18th, 2023 have been adopted and approved. I will now start with the public hearings, introducing item 6.1 for application SV423LG, and turn it over to staff for the presentation of the report and the recommendation.
Good evening, Committee of Adjustment and members of the public. This is a sign variance application for lands located at 566 Oak Park Road within the geographic township of Brantford. The subject lands are located south of Paris Road and east of Oak Park Road. The overall development of the lands was subject to site plan control in 2020, and the lands are subject to a registered development agreement, and construction on the site is still underway. The surrounding area consists of industrial land uses. The applicant is seeking relief from the sign bylaw, Section G, subsection G1, in order to permit 3 fascia signs, whereas a maximum of 2 fascia signs are permitted. Displayed are the north, south, and west elevations with the proposed sign locations. The subject lands are designated Employment Site-Specific Policy Area 16 within the County of Brant official plan, and zones and located within the primary urban settlement boundary of Paris. And the subject lands are zoned heavy industrial M3 within the County of Brant zoning bylaw 6116. No public comments were received as part of the public circulation. As a result of the upcoming sign bylaw review, staff is of the opinion that the request is in keeping with the overall intent of the sign bylaw, in keeping with the general intent and purpose of the official plan. The request is minor in nature and will not negatively impact the adjacent land uses. I am recommending approval of this sign variance application, SV423LG. Thank you, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Lauren, for the presentation. I'll ask the committee, do you have any questions or comments on this application? Member Smith, do you have any comments or questions? No? I believe all the members here have no comments or questions. Is the agent or applicant present online?
Yes, yeah, Fernando from Broke Signs, yeah.
Thank you. Do you have anything to add to the staff report?
No, I mean, it's because the size of the building is so huge that having this third sign and an elevation that's not very visible from the front road would give exposure to that new business on the northbound traffic. So it would be ideal to have representation on that south side as well.
Thank you. Do committee members have any comments or questions to the agent? Member Vamus, please
Yes.
go ahead.
Through the chair to Fernando, are any of these three signs going to be illuminated or lit?
Yes,
All
yes,
three?
they are. All three elevations will be illuminated, yes.
Thank you.
Any further comments or questions? And Member Smith, you have no comments, questions? Thank you. And there are no public delegations speaking on this application. So are there any final questions or comments from any committee members to staff or the agent? I believe there are none, so I'll now request a mover on this application. Member Schmidt, and can you please provide your motion so then I can ask for a seconder?
It's moved by myself and seeking seconder. Application SV 423 LG be approved.
Thank you. Is there a second? Member Emmett. I'll now take the vote, starting with Member Emmett,
Yes.
Member Vamus,
Yes.
Member Schmidt,
Yes.
Member Emmett, or Hamilton, sorry.
Yes.
Member Panag,
Yes.
and Member Smith.
Yes.
Brown, yes. The motion to approve application SV 423 LG has carried. That application has been approved. Thank you. I will now introduce item 6.2 for application SV 323 LG and turn it over to staff for the presentation of the report and the recommendation.
Good evening. This is a sign variance application for lands located at 315 Grand River Street North within the geographic township of Paris. The subject lands are located east of Grand River Street North and south of Scott Avenue. The surrounding area consists of commercial and industrial land uses. The applicant is requesting relief from Section G, subsection G3 of the sign bylaw 12108 to permit a sign face area of 18.88 square meters, which is 203.22 square feet, whereas a maximum sign face area of 10 square meters is permitted within the commercial zones. The applicant is also requesting relief from sections G, subsection G1 of the sign bylaw 12108 to permit 3 fascia signs along Grand River Street North, whereas 2 fascia signs are permitted within the commercial zone. The subject lands are designated general commercial within the County of Brant official plan and located within the primary urban settlement boundary of Paris. The subject lands are currently zoned special exception general commercial C24 within the County of Brant zoning bylaw 6116. No public comments were received as part of the public circulation. As a result of upcoming sign bylaw review, staff is of the opinion that the request is in keeping with the overall intent of the sign bylaw, in keeping with the general intent and purpose of the official plan. The request is minor in nature and will not negatively impact adjacent land uses. I am recommending approval of the sign variance application SV 323 LG. Thank you, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Haley, for the presentation. I'll ask the committee, do you have any comments or questions to staff on this application? I believe there are none. Is the applicant or their agent present online?
Yes, it's Donna Thompson here from Pride Signs.
Yes?
Um,
Do you have anything to add to the staff report?
the only thing I would add is that the existing sign that's already there is the same size as what we're proposing. The new signs will have LED lights installed, so it'll be a little bit more energy efficient. So it's like the proposed sign isn't going to change compared to what's there already. And the fact that there's no residential around, so the lighting or sign is not going to affect any residential areas.
Thank you. Do committee members have any questions or comments to the agent on this? And Member Smith, do you have any? No. I believe there are none. Then are there any final questions to staff or the agent? And again, I believe there are none, so I will request a mover on this application. Member Hamilton, can you please state your motion?
Moved by myself, looking for a seconder for application SV-23LG be approved because it is minor in nature and it does fit the official plan and the zoning bylaws of the County of Brant.
Thank you. Is there a second? Member Panag, thank you. I'll now call the vote, starting with Member Emmett,
Yes.
Member Vamus,
Yes.
Member Schmidt,
Yes.
Member Hamilton,
Yes.
Member Panag,
Yes.
Member Smith,
Yes.
and Brown, yes. The motion to approve application SV-323LG has carried. That application has been approved. Thank you. I will now introduce the item 6.3 for application A1123LG and turn it over to staff for the presentation of the report and the recommendation.
This is a minor variance application for lands located at 1 Masters Lane in the geographic township of Paris. The subject lands are located north of Powerline Road, east of Tom Brown Road, and south of Masters Lane. The lands are irregular in shape, having an approximate frontage of 13.7 meters along Masters Lane, an approximate area of 505.9 square meters, and are serviced by municipal water and sewer. The applicant is requesting relief from Section 8, Table 8.2.1 of the zoning bylaw to permit an overall lot coverage of 50%, whereas 45% is permitted, to facilitate construction of a partially covered deck. All other requirements of the zoning bylaw are being met. The subject lands are designated urban residential within the County of Brant official plan and zoned as residential singles with a site-specific provision within the County of Brant zoning bylaw 6116. No comments were received as part of the public circulation. I am recommending approval of this minor variance application A1123LG for the reasons outlined in my report. Thank you, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Lauren, for the presentation. I believe the agent or the applicant is online. Could they identify themselves, and do they have anything to add to the staff report?
This is Will O'Brien here from Hickory Dickory Dicks. Yep, agent. No, I have nothing further to add. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any questions to staff or the applicant? Member Hamilton?
Through the chair to staff, just looking at the outline of this lot, which it was originally, if you took the triangles off both sides of it, it probably wouldn't have had to come here for minor variances because it's a smaller lot than the ones next to it. Is that true? If I'm just looking at it.
Through the chair, I would have to see what's originally conveyed away from the lot, but there is a chance that if it was not irregularly shaped, that it would meet the requirements.
Okay, thank you.
Any further comments or questions from the committee members? I only have a question on page 78 of the report. There's a note for hand digging, and it's not to be placed over the pipes to the infiltration gallery. I'm assuming that is referring to something that's part of the swim spa, not anything to do with county pipes.
Sorry, I can field that. That's regarding the grading of the property. There's pipes that run along the side of the house to infiltration galleries in the backyard. If any of our footings are within 3 feet of those pipes, we are to hand dig in order to make sure we don't damage them, and well as make sure that we're to avoid covering the infiltration gallery with the project. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any further comments or questions to staff or the applicant from committee members? I believe there are none, so I will ask the committee, one of the committee members, do you wish to make a motion? Member Smith, please go ahead.
I'll make a motion to approve application A11-23-LG as it meets the four tests of the Planning Act.
Thank you. Is there a seconder? Member Schmidt. I'll now call the vote, starting with Member Emmett.
Yes.
Member Vamus.
Yes.
Member Schmidt.
Yes.
Member Hamilton.
Yes.
Member Panag.
Yes.
And Member Smith.
Yes.
And Brown, yes. The motion to approve application A11-23-LG has carried. That application has been approved. Thank you. I will now introduce item 6.4 for application A13-23-ES and turn it over to staff for the presentation of the report and the recommendation.
Good evening, committee members and members of the public. This is a minor variance application for lands located at 200 East River Road on behalf of the owners Anne Marie and Michael Sousa within the former township of South Dumfries. Before I continue, I'd like to recognize that the applicants and I, as the planner on file, do share a common last name, but I do note that there is no relation and no identified conflict of interest in providing a professional planning opinion on this application. Thank you. The subject lands are located north of Blue Lake Road, east of East River Road, and south of Deer Run Court. The subject lands contain an existing single detached dwelling, and the subject lands are rectangular in shape with a lot area of 7,325 square meters and frontage of 45 meters. The surrounding area consists of low-density rural residential and agricultural land uses. The subject lands are privately serviced by well and septic and are partly located within the GRCA regulation limit. The applicants are requesting a minor variance for relief from section 4.4, table 4.4.1 of the County of Brant zoning bylaw to permit an increased maximum structure height of 5.3 meters, whereas 5 meters is permitted, to facilitate the construction of a detached garage as an accessory structure to the existing single detached dwelling on site. The applicants are requesting this increase in allowable height to match the proposed structure with the design of the existing attached garage, including roof pitch, height, and aesthetic. The property is also treed along property lines, so visual impacts on height and surrounding land uses are to be mitigated. The subject lands are located within the GRCA regulation limit, as they are adjacent to a wetland feature. However, GRCA has noted no concerns with this application. Conformity with other zoning requirements are to be reviewed at the building permit stage. The subject lands are designated as rural residential, agriculture, and natural heritage in the County of Brant official plan, with the proposed development taking place within the rural residential and agricultural designations. The subject lands are zoned rural residential within the County of Brant zoning bylaw. No public comments were received as part of the public circulation. I am recommending approval of this minor variance application for the reasons outlined in my report, specifically that the request is minor in nature, is desirable development, maintains the intent of the county official plan and zoning bylaw. Therefore, it is my professional recommendation that minor variance application A13-23-ES be approved subject to the attached conditions. Thank you.
Thank you, Emily, for the presentation. Does the committee have any questions or comments to staff on this? It appears there are none. So is the applicant or their agent present? Could you please identify yourself, and do you have anything to add to the staff report?
Hi there, it's Anne Marie Sousa. I don't have anything to add.
Thank you. Do the committee members have any comments or questions to the applicant? Member Hamilton, please go ahead.
Through the chair to the applicant, just wondering, I'm not exactly sure where, well, it shows where it's going to be. Is any trees going to be impacted for digging the foundation or working through building this structure?
No, none of the trees will be impacted. That's actually why we moved the original site plan, had it over a bit. We actually moved it over so we don't have to touch any of the existing trees.
Thank you.
Any further comments or questions to the applicant? I believe there are none. Are there any final comments, questions to staff or the applicant? I'll only note to the applicant that there is a condition. You have seen that condition for the tree protection and inventory.
Yes.
Thank you. Then I will ask the committee members, can you put forth a motion on this application, please? Member Hamilton, please state your motion.
Moved by myself, looking for a seconder, that we approve minor variance A13-23-ES with the conditions that are listed, because it is minor in nature and it fits the area and the needs of the individual.
Thank you. Can I have a second? Member Emmett. I'll now call the vote, starting with Member Emmett.
Yes.
Member Vamus.
Yes.
Member Schmidt.
Yes.
Member Hamilton.
Yes.
Member Panag.
Yes.
Member Smith.
Yes.
And Brown, yes. The motion to approve application A13-23-ES has carried. The application has been approved. Thank you. I will now introduce item 6.5 for application B79 to B80 23LG and turn it over to staff for the presentation of the report and the recommendation.
This is a consent application for lands located at 137 Harley Road within the geographic township of Burford. The subject lands are located south of Harley Road and east of Middletown Line Road. The lands contain one existing dwelling and two accessory structures. The lot has a frontage of approximately 116.17 meters and a lot area of approximately 13,152.28 square meters. The subject lands are privately serviced by septic and well. The subject lands contain the Bennett Municipal Drain. The drain is currently undergoing a new report, and as a result, the drain will be relocated on the applicant's property to the westerly property line. At this time, the proposed design has not been finalized. It will only be final once the third reading is given to the bylaw. There are two parts to this application. Part 1 proposes the creation of one new residential building lot within the Hamlet Village of Harley on private services. The retained lands contain the existing dwelling and accessory structures and will have an area of approximately 7,894 square meters and a frontage of approximately 71.17 meters along Harley Road. The severed lands will have an area of 5,613 square meters and a frontage of approximately 45.41 meters along Harley Road. Part 2 proposes to establish an easement along the existing driveway to access the severed and retained lands. The easement has an area of approximately 76.6 square meters. As a result of a technical review, it was determined that insufficient site distance exists at the location of the existing entrance. Sufficient sight lines were identified to the east of the proposed severed parcel, approximately 20 meters west of the proposed severance line. The sufficient sightline area is highlighted in green on the attached drawing. The displayed images capture the existing conditions of the subject lands and surrounding area. The existing driveway is displayed as well as a view from the east and west of the property. The subject lands are designated as hamlet and villages within the County of Brant official plan and zoned as residential hamlet and villages with a site-specific provision within the zoning bylaw 6116. In addition to the uses permitted within the RH zone, the site-specific provision permits a cartridge and transport truck terminal. A condition of the consent application will be to rezone the subject lands to remove the site-specific and to recognize the lot coverage maximum of existing accessory structures on the retained lands. No public comments were received as part of the public circulation. I am recommending approval of consent application B7922LG, subject to the attached conditions, and refusal of consent application B8322LG for the reasons outlined in my report. Thank you, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Lauren, for the presentation. I'll ask the committee members if they have any questions for you. Member Hamilton, please go ahead.
Through the chair to staff, just looking at condition 6B on the 79 one, it says here a survey is required to identify the existing municipal thing, but we already know what's going to be changed. So would we not wait till we do a survey after?
Through the chair, so there is the existing municipal drain. Even though we know in the future it is going to be relocated, there are still development constraints related to the existing drain. So they are required to maintain 15 meters from that in case they decide to develop prior to the new drain being installed.
So the present drain is there, and it's going to be moved to the west more. So it's there, and we've got 30 meters or 100 feet. So it really restricts what the new driveway would be, and it's going to almost be coming out where the present driveway is. Am I wrong with that?
Through the chair, depending on when they decide to do the development and establish the driveway, if they were to wait until the drain's relocated, then there would be more opportunity to relocate it closer, well, to where the sufficient sight lines are.
Okay, yeah, it seems a little confusing where the county's going to move the drain, and we're trying to make a decision on something without having those actual measurements down and asking for a survey that's going to need to be redone again. It just seems to be a little redundant. So that's all. Thank you.
Any further comments or questions from committee members? Member Hamilton?
Thank you. Through the chair to staff, I'm looking now at B83, and on condition 8, it states it has to be done within a year, whereas it's 2 years for B79. So I'm just wondering, is that just a typo?
Through the chair, yes, that is correct. That is a typo.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any further comments or questions to staff? I have a question. If you could go back to that slide, because I'm a little confused following the suggestion, like you had where the sight line was in green and then the problems with it. Could we see that slide again?
Yes.
Because I'm just trying to get my frame of reference for, because the suggestion or the indication is that the existing drain is supposed to move more west. So I know you don't have an exact location, but can you give me an approximate area where that will be and include where the county is proposing the driveway on that slide?
To the chair, so the applicant has actually provided where the proposed location of the drain is going to be. So if you look, the current existing drain cuts across the severed parcel onto the retained parcel. And then the proposed location follows the westerly property line. So it's the straight blue line.
Okay. And then to follow up on Member Hamilton's question, the driveway basically that the county wishes, it would fall almost right into that new drain area, or about how far from it?
Through the chair, so it would be 20 meters to the west of where the current property line sits. So where the red is, that's where they don't currently have sufficient sight lines. And then displaying where the green is where they have sight lines coming from both the east and the west. So it would have to fall within that area.
Okay, because I asked this, and this is maybe getting ahead, but I noticed in the PowerPoint addendum, there was a statement that says there has to be a no interference zone. So I'm assuming that's referring to the existing drain or the proposed new drain. So is there like a definition of the interference zone?
So to the chair, there is specific development constraints as it relates to both drains. So the current drain, I believe it's 15 meters have to be maintained for any development. And then once that's relocated, that would be applied to the new drain as well.
Okay. Okay, thank you. Any further comments or questions from committee members to staff? Member Hamilton, please go ahead.
Through the chair to staff, what is going to happen to the retained driveway?
Through the chair, so the retained driveway is permitted. The entrance bylaw only applies to new lots that are being created. So the existing driveway for the retained lands would be permitted. The Development Engineering Department wasn't able to comment on that, only on the severed parcel.
Okay, and it's not your expertise, but it just common sense tells me if it's closer to that little hill that's got the blind spot in it, or if you go directly across the road at 138, which is almost across from that driveway, both those would be interfering, and I have a hard time understanding why they can still stay, but we have to change the new lot line from what the engineering department has to say, not what you're just putting forward their recommendation, but I have a hard time understanding that. So, okay, thank you for the clarification.
Thank you. Any further comments or questions to staff? I guess there are no more. Member Smith, none for you. Then I believe the applicant is present, and I believe you have a presentation. If you could again, please state your name for the recording.
My name is Patricia Biro. Yeah, sure, we can do the video first, and then I have a PowerPoint presentation, but most of what you have just referred to in your questions for Lauren, they are basically what, can you just pause that for a second? So there, a lot of the questions you were asking are basically what I'm going to be covering because they're the same questions that we have. So I'll just let the video play and then I have a brief PowerPoint presentation as well.
well. The reality of traffic coming from this four-way stop clearly indicates that putting a driveway there would create an additional new hazard with regards to leaving the driveway, given, again, the reality of the traffic at the four-way stop. As you can see, with the vehicle approaching, if I move to the center of the driveway of the proposed new lot, you can see there's more than ample visibility as a vehicle rises over that bump in the road. Second video taken in 2022. This shows vehicle visibility with regards to Harley Road versus heading from east to west. And again, this driveway was existing for years, but it's
So everybody has received, I believe, a copy of the PowerPoint presentation with my notes. In reviewing the requested location for placement of the driveway for the severed lot to be known as 139 Harley Road, we have the following comments. The distance from the severance line to the east, where the rise in the road is 98.95 meters, and I did this on the GIS system. The distance from the severance line to the west, where the four-way stop is located, is 93.08 meters. Moving the driveway closer to the intersection will add another point of entry to the busy intersection area of Harley Road and Middletown Line Road. This intersection is a main route for farm implements, tractors, farm trucks, transport trucks, and regular vehicle traffic. We feel that keeping one driveway that is already there and was previously approved would keep the area safer and provide less impact on the number of entry points en route for vehicles coming from either direction. Point number 2, placing the new driveway at the requested 20 meters from the current zone will place the driveway directly over top of the current municipal drain, which is not allowed due to the minimum distance separation of 15 meters from the current drain with any construction. I am of the understanding that would mean driveways as well. Placing it further over will put it into the no interference zone for work on the new municipal drain as well. Point number 3, the traffic coming from south at Middletown Line Road stop sign is not always visible from the requested new location for the driveway due to store patrons parking in front of the store instead of in the parking lot. And if you look at the angle of the intersection up on the map up here, you'll see that where the store is located, the angle where people have to turn right, it actually makes it even more difficult than if it was a straight plus sign type stop sign. Because if there's cars parked in front of the store, it makes it even more difficult to see. If the new driveway needs to be installed, it will mean disturbing the entire neighborhood to move a hydro pole, removal of trees, and also interfering with the current drain. On page 3 of my presentation, the image displays the intersection where we feel the visibility of traffic coming from the south due to vehicles being parked in front of the store. The hazard would be increased by adding another driveway closer to the stop sign. Does anyone have any questions for me?
Member Emmett, please go ahead.
The current speed limit right in that area, it's 50 kilometers, am I right?
Correct.
Thought so. Thank you.
Any further comments or questions to the applicant? Member Hamilton?
Through the chair to the applicant, that was a truck entrance for the last 40 years or 35 years. Was there any accidents reported of any vehicle leaving that driveway the current driveway I'm talking?
Never.
Or any close calls to your knowledge?
No, there weren't actually. I actually, for part of our application, I had to go and speak with the people that owned it previously and it's in regards to the next portion of our rezoning, because we don't want it to be a trucking terminal availability. So I had to go and get him to sign a letter stating that, and I discussed many things with him during that meeting because I hadn't actually met them yet. And during that meeting, he said, you know, like that driveway is really awesome. It was great for getting out because we could always see. And he never ever said that there was any accidents. So to the best of my knowledge, no accidents.
Thank you.
Any further comments or questions? Member Smith, do you have any comments, questions?
I do, but it might go to staff if that's okay.
Okay, so in the final questions, I will then ask for final questions, comments to staff and the applicant. Member Smith, please go ahead.
Through the chair to staff. So I'm just looking at the conditions because in the event that we as a committee decide not to say the driveway has to be basically moved, because the driveway's already there but it's a new lot, does operations still have to issue a permit for access to the property? I know it sounds funny because the driveway's already there, but do they still have to issue a permit?
Through the chair, as the driveway is existing and they'll be establishing an easement to service both, they should not require a permit from operations.
Okay, so in the event that we were to approve the easement, we could remove a couple of the conditions under the actual severance because they wouldn't apply at this point. Like I'm specifically talking about number 4 and 6C. If that was the case.
Through the chair, yes, those conditions could be removed.
Okay, thank you.
Could I have the other number? I heard condition 4. What was the other condition?
4 and 6C.
6C, okay.
And then I would also suggest we would have to add a condition to ensure that the easement is also approved. So that would have to be added to the severance, B79.
Thank you. Any further comments or questions?
I have a further comment.
Yes.
Did the committee receive the drawing with the easement from our? Was that passed out? The drawing with the easement that we were required to submit?
Through the chair, the drawing was supplied within the report.
Does everyone have that?
On page 22.
Did you have some further?
No, I just wanted to make sure that everyone had that because I wasn't sure if that was what Council Committee Member Smith was requesting.
Do you have it, Member Smith?
I do. Thank you.
Then I will ask, are there any further comments, questions to staff or the applicant? And if there are none, I would request a motion from a committee member, and please state it and also give reference to the attached application of the easement. And if you wish to modify conditions. Member Smith, would you like to make a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve B7923LG, removing condition number 4 and condition 6C, and adding a new condition to ensure that B83-22LG is approved.
Thank you. Can I have a second for that motion? Member Emmett, thank you. There is a motion on the table, and I will now ask for the vote, starting with Member Emmett.
Yes.
Member Vamus.
No.
Member Schmidt.
Yes.
Member Hamilton.
Yes.
Member Penag.
Yes.
Member Smith.
Yes.
And Brown, yes. The motion to approve application B7922LG has carried. That application has been approved, subject to the modified conditions. I will now ask for a motion on application B8322LG. And since Member Smith provided the motion on the related application, would you be willing to provide a motion on this? Thank you, Member Smith.
I'll make a motion to approve B8322, subject to the conditions that are listed in the staff report, as the application is in keeping with the general intent of the growth plan, the official plan, and the zoning bylaw.
Thank you. Is there a second for this? Member Schmidt? I'll now call the vote for the motion put forth, starting with Member Emmett.
Yes.
Member Vamus.
No.
Member Schmidt.
Yes.
Member Hamilton.
Yes.
Member Penag.
Yes.
Member Smith.
Yes.
And Brown, yes. The motion to approve application B8322LG has carried. That application is now approved. Thank you. Thank you. I will now introduce item 7 on our agenda for the next meeting, which is scheduled to be July 20th, 2023. And again, it will be a hybrid meeting starting at 6 p.m. May I please get a motion to adjourn the meeting? Member Emmett, is there a seconder? Member Vamus, and please state your motion.
Moved by myself and seconded by Member Vamus that the meeting of June 15th, 2023 be adjourned.
Thank you. All those in favor, please raise your hand.